Hi, my name is Morgan Lyle, and I chose to do my cultural perspectives on death presentation about the Amish. I just thought the Amish would be a really interesting group to investigate just because I don't know very much about them. I don't know what their beliefs are, and being Jewish, I know that we're kind of closely tied with some of their religious aspects and their old ways of their rituals of burial. So I thought it'd be cool to see some similarities and maybe just get to know it a little better. So when I started looking up things on the internet, I found a lot of interesting things. The thing that I thought was most interesting is that the community handles like everything to do with the person's funeral. They um, they they take care of the body for them. They dig the grave. They build the coffins. They take care of the visitations, and everything that the family could possibly worry about is taken care of by the community members. So there's a lot of community involvement in a person's death. Throughout, I thought their rituals on the services and visitations and everything of the death were really interesting too. They don't embalm the body unless the state demands it, and what they bury the person is like simple white clothing with the women. The women are normally buried with their caps and the aprons that they were married in, and I thought that was kind of cool. Their coffins don't have anything on them. They're just simple pine. That's it. There's no flowers. There's no photos left. It is just the coffin. The four pallbearers they pick are their close friends, but if the dead person was married, all the pallbearers have to be married as well. And if the person was single, all the pallbearers have to be single. So it's up to the pallbearers to get the room ready for the visitations. So at the house of the deceased, you have to take all the furniture out of the room that the coffin's going to be in for the visitation. So that's just their custom. They end up digging the grave, which takes 3 days by Amish customs, and then they're the ones that lower it into the ground with the ropes, and they fill in the rest of the grave while the family members watch. Another cool thing was that they have three viewings of the dead. The first is the one that I mentioned when they clear all the furniture out of the dead's house and they view it there. Then they take it to where the service is being performed. It could be the church. If there's not a church, it could still be at the house or a barn, wherever that service is going to take place. They take it there. And then they take it, that's where the second visitation is, and then the third one is at the gravesite right before they close it and say their final prayer and lower it into the ground. Something that we also do at funerals is that you take a handful of dirt and you put it on top of the grave, on top of the coffin, and every family member or mourner gets to do that, and then you fill in the rest of the grave with dirt. The mourners wear all black, and the family has to wear black for a year, an entire year. Something else that happens for an entire year is after the funeral service at the gravesite, they all go back to the family's house or their house of the deceased and have a simple meal. And then the friends and family will continue to visit that family for every Sunday for a year. So there's huge community support here. The funeral service itself normally takes 2 hours, and it's in Pennsylvania Dutch, which is, I believe, Amish's main language. And the service itself doesn't focus on the dead person like I believe a lot of modern services do. They believe that that person is already gone and that the focus should be on praising God and thanking God for everything that he's done for the person and everything that is done in their lives and helping that person on into the afterlife and accepting them. They do show respect, but no eulogies are ever said, and just the person's name, birth date, and date of death are read at the end of the service. There is no singing. It's all sermons and prayers, and the Lord's Prayer is always said. So they say one final prayer before they close the coffin, and they lower it into the ground at the gravesite. The headstones are really simple. It just includes their name, birth date, death date, just standard stuff. They don't leave any flowers on the grave, though. I thought that was really interesting. And children are buried in generally unmarked graves, and they just have this like flat headstone that they lay on the ground that doesn't say anything, and that's a child's gravesite. So I believe I'm going to go in a little bit about their beliefs surrounding death. The Amish don't believe that life has to be continued at all costs. So like, say you get in a car accident and your lung is punctured and they don't think they can save you. The Amish don't believe that you have to be saved. They don't believe any effort should be taken, all efforts possible and exhaust all resources should be taken to save that person if the outcome is likely that they're going to die anyway. So if they're in like a long-term coma, they don't believe in drawing it out any longer. So they'll generally pull life support and don't really believe in life support efforts. They believe that you should die at home whenever possible. And if you can't, you have to be surrounded by your family. And they do believe in autopsies and you can donate the body. It's really at the preference, I guess, of the community at the time. As far as healing goes, they aren't opposed to going to hospitals or anything or getting, modern medical treatments. They don't have any insurance plans. They just pay out of pocket for that if they choose to do that. But they do believe that all healing is in God's hands. So if you go to a hospital and get healed, it's because God wanted you to and God helped you, not because of all the drugs and the efforts that went into by the staff there. They do believe in an afterlife, but they'll never say themselves like, I'm going to heaven or I definitely have eternal salvation, because they don't think that's humble. They're very humble people and like to live very humble lifestyles. So they would never just flat out be like, oh yes, I'm going to heaven because I did everything right. They're really confident about death and their own mortality. They accept it. They know it's going to happen and just accept it as a part of life. They're very interwoven in their communities, and they believe that overall that if they did what they were supposed to and they were faithful in this life, that God will reward them. So that's what their general beliefs are and attitudes towards death. They accept it's going to happen. They even make their own funeral clothes and keep them ironed and washed in case of their death is soon. They are just very open to it and accepting because of their beliefs. So overall, that's what it is. They have a lot of support from their community. They're very accepting of their mortality, and overall, they're just really interesting, and they have very intricate funeral services, or very repetitive rituals. It's the same for every person. So that is what I was able to find out about the Amish culture, and I hope you guys learned a little something and enjoyed watching me. Bye!